It was supposed to be a beautiful summer day. A boat party with friends, the ocean breeze, and a celebration at its absolute peak. But when the sun set on Horn Island, one young man disappeared forever. His name was Nolan Wells. At first glance, this story looked like a tragic, everyday accident. An accidental drowning where authorities and friends suggested Nolan had too much to drink and simply slipped beneath the waves. But as time passed, the quiet waters of that island began to spit out secrets that have shaken the entire country to its core. Today, we are going to dive deep into every single piece of evidence to find out what really happened on that boat. How did a group of friends get tangled in their own conflicting stories? How did a mysterious vessel dubbed Boat X enter the narrative? How did internet sleuths catch them in their biggest lie? And most importantly, we will expose the terrifying audio tape that changed this investigation forever. This is not just an accident. This is a calculated cover-up. And the price for this silence is being demanded in the form of death threats and blood. We are breaking down the Nolan Wells case, piece by piece. To solve any mystery, the most crucial element is the timeline. When we look at the detailed investigative report from the Cajun Navy, massive loopholes in the Friends stories immediately start to appear. The Cajun Navy is not just any amateur group. They are a renowned volunteer search and rescue organization that has saved thousands of lives since Hurricane Katrina. They conducted a meticulous investigation of the waters, taking in tips, checking GPS coordinates, and speaking to witnesses. The timeline they put together completely shatters the statements given by Nolan's friends. The friends claimed that Nolan wandered off and they assumed he left with someone else, painting a picture of a guy who just walked away from his own group. But according to the Cajun Navy's GPS data and eyewitness reports, Nolan's friends left the island at exactly 4:30 p.m. They packed up and left him there, completely alone. One witness confirmed seeing Nolan on the island around 6 p.m., stranded and waving his arms like he was trying to flag someone down. But when that same witness looked back at 7:30 p.m., both Nolan and the boat he was supposedly near were gone. He vanished in broad daylight on a crowded island. This brings us to one of the biggest mysteries of the entire investigation, Boat X. In their report, the Cajun Navy identified almost all the boats present on the island that day, logging their movements and passengers. But there was one specific vessel they could only identify as Boat X. Who did this boat belong to? Did Nolan get on this boat thinking it was a ride home? Or did the people on Boat X do something to him? The fact that the Cajun Navy specifically highlighted this unknown vessel proves that whatever happened that evening, this boat plays a vital role. But the real shock comes when we turn our attention to the police interviews with Nolan's own friends. When you are innocent, you tell the truth, because the truth never changes. But in this case, the very first statements Warren and Bart gave to the police were built on a foundation of lies. Imagine your friend is missing, his life is in danger, and you are deliberately giving false information to the police. Why would anyone do that unless they had something to hide? According to the official police report, when investigators asked the friends who else was on the boat with them that day, they refused to identify a young woman who was present. They simply referred to her as an unidentified woman. And they took it a step further. They gave the police a fake name, Lainey. They told law enforcement that Nolan was hanging out with this girl named Lainey. What was the result? The police wasted critical hours on a wild goose chase. They drove to Lainey's house, knocked on her door, only to have her tell them that she hadn't seen Nolan in a year. Furthermore, she wasn't even on Horn Island that day. She was on a completely different island called Petty Boys. This wasn't a mistake of memory. This was a deliberate attempt to derail the investigation and lead the police away from the truth. If they had told the truth immediately, search parties could have been deployed that very night. But Warren and Bart forgot one thing. We live in a digital age, and sometimes the internet is faster than law enforcement. Social media sleuths, specifically a researcher known as the Nerdy Pink Panther, tore this lie to shreds. It turned out that the unidentified woman was none other than a girl from their own friend group named Katie. But how did the internet prove she was there when the boys completely denied it? The evidence was hiding in plain sight on Snapchat. A photo surfaced from Katie's account showing her wearing a very specific teal swimsuit and a white hat. Standing next to her was a friend in a blue and white striped swimsuit. Now, here is the twist. A video was leaked showing Bart's boat towing Wyatt's boat later that day. When you turn the brightness all the way up on that video, you can clearly see the girl in the teal swimsuit and the white hat sitting right there on Bart's boat, right next to the girl in the striped swimsuit. Katie was on the boat. Why did the friends hide her identity? Did Katie see something she wasn't supposed to talk about? Or is she involved? Warren, Bart, and Katie have all given stories that completely contradict one another. None of their timelines match up. One thing is crystal clear. This is an organized cover-up, and they are desperately trying to keep their stories straight. No matter how many layers of lies you build, the truth always finds a way to seep through the cracks. And in this case, the truth surfaced in the form of an audio recording that will send chills down your spine. This is the smoking gun of the entire investigation. That day, an emergency call was placed to the Marine Dispatch, known as STO. The callers claimed their bilge pump had stopped working and their boat was sinking. What they didn't realize was that the dispatch operator's system was recording all the background noise on the boat. When Janetta Brantley, a professional audio engineer, took this dual mono recording and isolated the channels to enhance the audio, the words echoing in the background did not sound like an accident. They sounded like an active crime scene. Through the static, you can hear a panicked voice say, "Check his chest." Then, another voice asks, "Is he dead?" And finally, the phrase that changes everything, "Damn it, Bart, Nolan's really dead now." It gets even more disturbing. At one point, the STO dispatch operator herself sounds confused and asks over the radio, "Who is breathing?" Just think about this for a second. You are on a boat with your friends. Someone suddenly becomes unresponsive. Nobody calls 911 for an ambulance. Nobody calls the police. Instead, you are in a blind panic, cursing at each other, saying, "Damn it, Bart." That is not the reaction of an accidental drowning. That is the sheer panic of a crime you are desperately trying to hide from the rest of the world. With evidence this strong, you would expect arrests to be made immediately. But instead, the system seems to be shielding the suspects. To determine a cause of death, an autopsy is the most vital piece of the puzzle. In Nolan's case, the state's official autopsy has been completed, but it is being kept entirely secret from the public. The medical examiner's report has been locked away under the excuse that it is being held for a grand jury. If this was just a simple case of alcohol intoxication and drowning, why hide the report? Autopsies are public records. An independent autopsy requested by the family noted trauma to the back of Nolan's head, but due to severe decomposition, because it took days to get his body to the right facility, a definitive cause of death couldn't be established. What does the state's autopsy say? Does it confirm foul play? What are they hiding? Then, the friends tried to pull a massive PR stunt to clear their names. It was leaked to the media that the young men on the boat had taken lie detector tests and passed with flying colors, proving their innocence. Sounds great on paper, right? Until former FBI special agent and polygraph expert George Olivo blew the lid off that lie too. He revealed that these boys never took a traditional polygraph test, the kind that measures heart rate, blood pressure, and sweat gland activity. Instead, they took a voice stress analyzer test. In the investigative and legal world, a voice stress test is basically worthless. It is incredibly easy to beat and hold zero weight in a court of law. If they were truly innocent, why wouldn't they submit to a real, state-administered polygraph test with questions drafted by investigators? Because a real polygraph measures the physical reactions your body cannot control when you tell a lie. Where secrets run deep, fear and violence follow. This case has escalated far beyond internet theories. It has become genuinely dangerous. People connected to this case are receiving severe death threats. A man from Sacramento was arrested by federal authorities for sending a bomb threat to Warren's stepmother, who happens to be a judge. His letter stated, "There will be blood. So much blood. Just like there was on the boat, but yours will be much faster. It's hard to clean, especially from a boat." Another woman from Ohio was charged after calling Mississippi law enforcement over 25 times, threatening them with bombs and warning them not to go outside. And most heartbreaking of all, Nolan's grieving family is being harassed and threatened online. A mother who should be packing her son's bags for college right now is instead visiting his grave, begging for justice while fielding death threats from people who want this case to simply fade away. The story of Nolan Wells is not just a mystery, it is a profound tragedy. A young man's life was stolen, and the people he called friends have spent their time lying to the police, hiding identities, giving fake names, and taking fake tests to clear their own names. But they forgot that time, technology, and a public that demands justice will always rip the mask off a lie. The enhanced audio is against them. The Snapchat photos are against them. The Cajun Navy's timeline is against them. I have one message for everyone who was on that boat, especially Katie, Warren, and Bart. These people are not your friends. Be a hero. Step forward and tell the world what actually happened on that boat before it's too late. Justice will not be served until the grand jury releases that autopsy report and these friends are strapped into a real polygraph machine. What do you guys think? Was Nolan the victim of a tragic accident? Or was this a calculated, cold-blooded cover-up? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you have even the smallest piece of information regarding this case, please contact the FBI or local law enforcement. Every tip matters. And remember, do not send hate or threats to anyone online. Let the legal system do its job. If you want to see more deep dive investigations like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates on this case. Until next time, stay safe and keep searching for the truth.